Hey y'all, I'm going to show you how I like to go about doing market research while I'm building my side project and how that informs decisions that I make for this specific side project, which is an online multiplayer game app that has multiple different games and different kinds of games. So I'll show you how I use Google Trends data, search terms, and keywords to look at different queries, look at competitors, and then how I translate that information into decisions about features to build, what to build first, what to focus on for an MVP so that I can get something out and find an audience organically so I don't have to spend marketing dollars and I can try to just iterate based off of feedback from that group of users I can gain through organic search. I'll show you how I use some of the information I find for SEO content to go on the page. This is one video in a series about SEO for side projects. So let's dive in and let's go ahead and get an intro to the project itself, and you can see how I incorporate SEO with the real meat of the work. And what I decided I want to do is create a bunch of real-time games, or a few real-time games, and let people play online with their friends. So I looked at React Native and I've got a video talking about why I initially picked React Native and then why I'm now moving away and going to Svelte to use a PWA instead of using React Native to compile down to device native code and then also work in the web browser. So in any case, I'm going to show you what the functional MVP looks like in React Native, where I've moved it to Svelte, which I'm really happy with right now. And you'll kind of get an idea of where I'm going as well and the things that I still have yet to do to get it moved completely to Svelte. So let's take a look down here. Um, what you'll see is in my example, keep this up. So this is the React Native version, which I got a functional MVP with real-time multiplayer usage for two games that I made. Fast Libs, which is kind of like a Mad Libs plus Cards Against Humanity kind of game, and then Lingo, which is like bingo, but I only made, and with the idea that you can have multiple different decks and do like online meeting bingo, holiday bingo, etc., and then just a normal bingo. So login capabilities, we'll go to that screen. Um, this is all through Firebase, but you can create a user or you can sign in with Google. I'm going to go ahead and sign in with Google, show you that, sign in. And you can set up, what I love about Firebase for auth is you can set it up for any provider. You can have Google, Twitter, Facebook, a whole bunch of other different ones. I think probably LinkedIn, GitHub. Yeah, so it's really, really cool. And then you can also do the roll your own thing with just a, or not really roll your own, but have your own users with email and password, and they can do sign up, do the password reset flow, confirmation flow through like an email link. So it's really, really easy. Highly recommend it. Fairly straightforward to get set up, but definitely one of those things where you do it once and you might be a little bit shaky. Some of the permissions, some of the like API keys and configuration stuff can be confusing at first, but then once you've done it, it's not that bad. I had a hard time actually when I was moving this to um, to realize that I had permission issues because my localhost port was different on the Svelte version. So anyway, this is what the React Native iteration looks like. So you click on a game, and then it takes you to either add a game code with like your name and join if there's a game code that a friend gave you, or you can start a new game. And what I don't like about this is you have to pick your game before you join a game. That doesn't really seem smart to me. So you'll see that I changed that. And then here we go. We have our actual game. And I will go ahead and do a second user joining just so you can see how this works. So bear in mind, this is pretty much where we're done, but what we do have, and this user is already logged in, just on Firefox. I know I've got a different user, so we do have real time, and we do have a lot of the really fun capabilities. So you'll see that we have two different bingo boards, and you can kind of see that these are different squares for each one. So this user has underdressed for like O1, I guess. This user has someone takes a call for O1, but for G1 they have someone is overdressed, and then underdressed is O3. So it's pretty random here. That's one of the things that we went for. And then you can see if I click, depending upon the user, so on this screen I'm the bottom user, Winnie, and this screen I'm the top user, Steve. You'll see that both screens get updated with that information. And then if I click as Winnie, you can see the same thing real time. So no matter who I am, I can see all my competitors and see how close they are to Lingo or Bingo. So that's a cool feature. So anyway, that's where we're going. And one of the pain points that you can notice here, just quit Firefox, be a little nicer. One of the pain points actually is that with React Native, it seems like clicking on buttons is a little bit weird and not responsive. So this was my home screen. I was going to add more, so I wasn't too worried about that. But this flow of having to click into a game and then enter a game code doesn't make sense to me. If you're joining a game, if someone gave you a game code, you should be able to just enter that immediately and not have to make any other decisions, because the assumption is you probably don't know too much about the game other than someone's inviting you. So I'm going to show you the changes that I made in moving to Sapper. Now I did flesh out the homepage quite a bit more. Entered a game code or a username and hit join game on the homepage. I have not wired this up yet. So this is over the weekend. I moved a lot of this to Sapper, connected Hasura, connected Firebase, got authentication working, but still there's still quite a lot to do. And the only difference here is because my screen's not wide enough, they're not side by side, so there we go. Added an additional picture, changed the card size a little bit, and started to incorporate some SEO, which we'll talk about in just a moment here. A little bit better flow, I think, because now we're talking about if I want to go to check out games, I can do that, but when I'm on the home page, I have the option right away to join a game or come down here and select a new game. And then, like I said, auth is working. I might just remove this part and leave it to just log in with a provider. So there, added a name here, online games. Should probably redirect after that login, but no big deal. And then logout flow, I believe I kick you to the front, yeah, which I think is a good move. So now I'm going to show you why I made some of these content decisions that you can see here. With my name, this is the app name. I have zoomgames.app as a domain. So I have not yet launched on that, but I do own that. And this is what I was looking at. So if I look at trends.google.com, I can come here and look for information about different searches, different topics. And this is really where you get a lot of information for free about what your audience size might be. So I'm going to add one more search term here. And then I'm going to show you some additional information that you can find. So I'll wait till that updates. And we can see if we just keep it at United States, past 12 months, web search, and all categories, we get pretty good information about the relative popularity of these search terms. What I'm going to do is there's a category called games, and it has subcategories, which you can see below. I'm just going to leave it as a category of games to see if Google can filter out anything that's irrelevant. I think most of these will probably all just fit in there, so I don't think we'll see anything too different. But it just gives me a little bit better handle. So yeah, that doesn't look too crazy to me. It looks pretty much the same. But we can see our relative popularity as we might expect. Online games, that's a broader category, much much larger in terms of search volume. And then we get bingo, which makes sense too, because that can be, beyond just online, and online kind of is a subset of just bingo. So online bingo should get fewer searches than bingo. And then card games. And then we can scroll down. Nevada casinos has bingo as more prevalent, but everywhere else has online games. And Alaska, it looks like same thing. I don't know if they have gambling, maybe. But then we look and we can see interest by subregion isn't all that important, but this online games, this tells us that the data below, this interest by subregion, and then more important, the related queries are related to that search term. So online games to play on Zoom. That seems like a good idea. Games to play on Zoom, another good idea. So this is why I went and looked to see on domains.google.com, and you can use any site, if I could find some good names that had Zoom in them, but weren't implying that I was a part of that company. Obviously that's its own company, but the word Zoom has a connotation of being fast. So like fast online games seems pretty reasonable too. So zoomgames.app was available. And as long as we don't represent ourselves as being part of Zoom or in any way affiliated, then that should be fine. So I'm not going to mention them beyond just my domain name. And then online games to play with friends during quarantine seems pretty important. No idea about um, Rahul Mahajan's online gambling games reef, but board games online with friends. So already I have some ideas. This gets me the domain name, and then maybe I'll do some online board games later. Maybe that'll be my next thing. And then card games. Card games online with friends, play card games online with friends, online card games to play with friends. These are all a little lower than the top two search terms, but look at this. I was thinking of making a 4-person card game. This tells me maybe I need to do a 6. Maybe I'll stand out in a niche. This is a percentage, so who knows if there were only like 3 searches and now there are 300. That's a great increase, but it's not necessarily enough to make me change my mind. And then I can also show additional queries. I'm not going to right now. I can search by top, card game, and I can even download the data. So I have a lot of different options here. And then looking at bingo, oh no, something went wrong. Let's refresh. Yeah, looking at bingo, we have quarantine bingo, contact gala bingo, or gala, depending on how you're pronouncing it, CBC bingo cafe, 120 free spins, apocalypse bingo. This sounds similar to this. So that's clearly something that I should do instead of just online meeting lingo. I should probably have like apocalypse bingo, especially for 2020. That's like what people are talking about. Election bingo, I don't know that I would use the keyword free heavily. So just bear that in mind, because if you use it heavily, then you're pretty much limited to just focusing on ads for revenue. Because otherwise people, if you try to charge people after telling them you have free games, they might not like that. So just bear in mind what decision you want to make and how that might affect your user experience. So yeah, I used Google Trends to help me figure out what some good search terms were, what's rising, what's top, and that just gives us an indication of maybe where we should focus, not only on our domain name, but also it's going to be a factor in site structure. It's going to be a factor in the content, so I can get organic search results and get high rankings on Google search. And it's also going to be a factor in what products I make first and which games I focus on. So it'll be really interesting, and this is a really good tool to help you maximize the amount of effort that you put in. Let me know any questions. I'd love to hear more about what tools you use, what you found is helpful, and then if there are any tips and tricks. So don't forget to like and subscribe. Let me know your thoughts, and let me know other things you would like me to dive into.